All right, everyone, and we're back. More discussion on House of Dragons. This time we're talking about episode 2, The Rogue Prince. My name is Jermaine Watson, and we're joined by.
This is Elle.
All right. Off camera, we were talking about our love for House of Dragons. You were saying you were about to say, I cut you off because I wanted you to save it for here.
Yes, definitely got abruptly disrupted. But yeah, I was like, oh my God. So I have been held accountable to like, hey, you gotta watch this show. Jermaine was like, you gotta check it out. House of Dragons. Yeah. So I watched the episodes like more than once, and I'm like, man, I might like House of Dragon more than Game of Thrones.
Really?
So yeah, I don't know, but to be fair, I came in like late to Game of Thrones. Like when I started watching it, it was like almost over. I did
Hmm.
watch from the beginning, so
Hmm.
at that point, it was a very lengthy show. So now I think I'm just fresh with House of Dragon. It's a new show, even though it's a prequel.
So, what
Um,
is it that you like about it?
man, I like how there's a really a lot zoomed in on patriarchy, but they're bringing in like, hey, okay, these women are well equipped, but just watching them kind of be shut down, that really got a buy-in for me, and just kind of seeing the strength and not just in the main characters. Like for instance, I don't want to spoiler alert. I'm gonna just pause because I realized where I was about to go. It's about to go off in a whole other direction.
Well, another thing that I really like about House of Dragons is, and it's unique from Game of Thrones, is the fact that they're using a whole lot more minority characters, especially black characters, just to be, specific. Even to the extent where we're talking about black characters who are wearing locks.
Yes.
Like episode 1, I was like, "What?
I
What is
immediately
this?"
I immediately saw Lord Corliss and was like, okay, he's got a seat at the table. He's locked up,
Yes, that part.
and then he's very vocal. He's not
Yes.
like pedaling back, crawfishing out. He's like stern. I'm here, even though, Otto kind of tries to shut him down a lot. He's just kind of like, okay, so
Willing to play the game, knows that he's second tier, but at the same time, nah, he has his own kingdom that he's trying to
yes,
run, and nah, you can play your games over here, but I'm gonna go back to my area, where I control, and let's see what happens then. Yeah, yeah,
yes,
I was all for it. I was all for it. And I don't know which episode it was. It might have been. Look, I've seen so many episodes at this point, where I don't know if it's episode 2, episode 3. I don't know, but so yeah, I'm with you. I hope I don't say anything that I that I shouldn't say. But with episode 2, it starts off. The episode starts off with a human being eaten by crabs.
yes,
That's what we see. We see the tendons and all the other good stuff just being just taken away. But that's really all that we see. And then we jump to another scene, where we learn one of the king's guards has died, passed away in their sleep, and he needs another guardsman. Um, and that kind of sets things up, to introduce a character, and a character that we saw in episode 1, which is
yes,
going to become significant, I'm assuming, to the entire storyline. Yeah, I was
yes.
about to say something else. Um, before we move on, any thoughts about that?
Definitely the opening scene, very gory. I'm glad that they didn't cut back with that. It was just very like, oh my God, what is happening? Um, and that was like a segue into like you said, the one of the king's guards has died. So they're coming back to the table, right? That
Hmm.
conversation is happening
Hmm.
in that
Hmm.
scene. So I don't know if you were about to go more into
No,
what
you can go.
happened
I was about to, but you lead into it.
um, so they're at the table, and our boy Lord Carlos, he comes in like, "Hey, hold on." He didn't come in very humble either. He's like, "Look, these pirates in these free cities, they tripping. Like,
Mm.
I have lost people. Like, what you gonna do about this? And
This is your job.
right, and King Viserys is just kind of like, hey, I don't really want it with them. Basically, is what he's saying without saying it, because what I'm getting from King Viserys is he's kind of a passive king. Um, it's for me, like what I've seen so far is like he almost really didn't want the throne, right? Um, it's kind of what I'm getting from him. He's really, really passive in it. So, but Lord Corliss is out for blood. He wants, hey, we need to show strength. You know, we're looking real questionable. So, what are you gonna do about this?
It's real interesting that you bring this up. So it wasn't until you just said it looked like he didn't want the throne. I remembered that scene when he found out that he would have the throne, and his face wasn't like an enthusiastic face. It was kind of like, oh, like no,
Right.
this is not.
Like,
And then later we learn, I think in episode one, that he doesn't even speak High Valyrian, right?
mm-hmm,
He
mm-hmm.
doesn't. And so that tells you a little something about him. Those who do, they have a hot temper. Those who don't are calm, cool, and collected.
That's a good point. Like
Hmm.
Damon and Princess Rhaenyra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, so that was an awesome scene. I do agree. Seeing Lord Corliss bust through the Privy Council, like tradition, culture, be damned. I'm doing this, and what you gonna do about it? Like, like
Right.
he,
And
he like
then
he has so much money. Is like, nah.
money
I'm
and
the
power.
I'm the yeah, and yeah, his ships, yeah.
Yeah, you have there's the hand Otto, and like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like you forget your place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Oh, ooh, that's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way of look. I'm sorry. So as I look at this particular series, I'm looking at it from the frame of reference of race,
mhm.
which might not be cool to some people, but I am, because it has become about race in the fact that they're including these particular characters, and in our society, a lot of people are like, nah, they shouldn't have these characters. This wasn't in the book. I'm like, I don't care. So since they're talking about it, I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, I mean, quite naturally, it was a risk, but I think it was a good one.
Hmm.
I enjoy seeing it. I'm liking the gray locks. I'm liking seeing the good mixture of children.
Right,
You know.
right. And not like, how like sometimes on TV you'll see a black character, white character, that they're married and their kid comes out dark. I'd be like, come on now.
Like,
That
it's
don't
it's
happen.
very it's believable. It's very believable, with
Hmm.
Lord Corliss and his wife, and how their children look. It's very believable.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, I enjoy that.
All right. So Rhaenyra offers the use of the dragon riders after hearing the conversation of going on between Lord Carlos and Otto the Hand. But it's clear that the Privy Council, they don't like this particular idea. Even I would venture to say that even Lord Carlos kind of looked at it like, I don't know about that. And I'm certain it was a mixture of her speaking kind of like out of turn, and also the danger that it would put their forces in by using the dragons, was probably like partly what was happening in that moment. I just want to get your thoughts.
So I do agree. So again, going back to that whole patriarchy thought, okay, you're supposed to be filling the cups. You're speaking out of turn. Let me find something else for you to do. So, it's kind of how they handle Rhaenyra. And, she's listening intently, and she has in her mind, this is a real plan. Like, okay, we can show up for us. Let's pull up on these dragons and really show what we can do. And I didn't I didn't take from it that Laura Corliss wasn't on board with it, because just his comeback was, and maybe it was just a little bit of snark for everybody in the room, like, hey, well, at least Rhaenyra has a plan.
That's how I took it. That's that's how I took it. Like at least she got some balls. That's what
Yeah.
that's how I took it.
So they usher her off like, hey, okay, here's what we need you to do. We got
Yeah.
something better for you to do. Go and find someone else to be the king's guard.
Right.
Go do that. I don't know.
Right.
Did I say the right term? I don't know. But
Yeah. Yeah. The King's Guard. Hmm. Um. And she chooses Sir Kristen Cole.
yes.
And her reason for choosing Sir Kristen Cole was basically because she felt like he was the only one out of the men that she saw who saw true combat and who could actually defend her father. And it was interesting that she was still, even though she knew that this person would be her personal protector, she was still thinking about her father.
Right.
And that to me was significant.
And I like I love the fact because I'm a big goofball. I love the humor that's thrown in there because she's like, okay, is there anybody that did anything beyond a possible threat? That's stepping forward because all I'm hearing right now is you done found somebody that may or may not have been poaching. That's not gonna be helpful for my father. Like, okay, you hunting animals you're not supposed to be hunting. How is that gonna help the king?
You all
Next.
are weak men. You are beneath me. That's what she's really
And she's up
saying.
there on her step stool looking down on them. Okay. That can't be about accident. Like, okay, no, this is not gonna work. So yeah, that's what I got from that. I did like the humor that was intertwined in that whole scene. Like, okay, you're gonna send me off to do something else because you don't want me at the table. Got
Hmm.
it. I'm gonna be picking.
And watch my decision making. Like and you also saw where the hand was trying to guide her, and she was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
You
what I
can
want.
puppet my father, but you will not puppet me.
There
And
you
that's
go.
what I'm getting from Rhaenyra and Otto versus the king and Otto.
Hmm.
He takes well, I mean, and he's his hand, so he should trust him, but
Hmm.
Rhaenyra's like, yeah, that doesn't sound right. You know, let's try this instead.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I do like that she gives Otto some push.
So we also learned that volcanoes are basically the source of the dragon's power, being close to volcanoes. Um, and that was just something that I had never known before. I read a little bit about, or I read some of the first book, and I saw all of Game of Thrones, but I didn't know anything about volcanoes being the source of their power.
Right. This is news to me now. Okay. Somehow I missed it, but that's okay. I know now.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. And so Viserys is so Otto basically has a conversation with Alicent and instructs her to get closer to the king. Okay, all right. Clearly you have some thoughts.
Look, so I really kind of just peeped it like in the beginning with how he interacts with his daughter. It's like he's grooming her,
Hmm.
and he wants to use her for a very specific purpose. It's very clear. Um, and to me, Alicent seems reluctant,
Hmm.
but hey, this is my father.
Hmm.
He knows best, even if I disagree. I'm just gonna do what he says.
Hmm.
So that whole
Why do you
dynamic
think
is interesting to me.
why do you think she was reluctant? On what level do you think she was reluctant?
I feel like part of it is it seems as though Allison is just a good natured person.
Hmm.
She just comes off that way. And then she has this interesting friendship with Rhaenyra.
Hmm.
So, I feel like she feels kind of guilty. Like
Hmm.
clearly you're having me to do this for a reason, for a
Hmm.
gain. So
Hmm.
I really don't want to do this. This is my friend. This is her father. He just lost his wife, or as they say, lady wife, which I think is absolutely amazing. I'm going to start saying lady wife. Is this your lady wife? Okay, great. But yeah, you got to reel me back in because I'll go off in 15 different directions. But yeah. Um, but I think
Well,
that relationship with Rhaenyra, kind of makes her feel guilty.
yeah, and I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. So anyway, so the hand basically asked Rhaenyra to do that. and she talks to the king, um, and of course, she slyly compliments the king, um, but then worries whether she tells Rhaenyra about their talks. He's worried that she's going to tell his daughter about their talks. It's almost as if in that moment he's realizing what's really happening,
Mhm.
and he doesn't want to offend his daughter. Um, as a mother, what went through your mind at that moment?
As a mother, what went through my mind? This girl is how old? Is what
Less
I'm
than
thinking.
17.
Right. And which I know during the times, as we see in the other episodes, how they're clearly age is not a factor.
Hmm.
Um, I'm thinking, wow, this girl is really young. Um, but I'm thinking at least Viserys is considerate of his daughter. Like, you're kind of doing something wrong, but he cares. He genuinely cares about how she feels, and not just like, okay, she's a girl, she's just gonna fall in line, whatever. So in that moment, I kind of empathize with Viserys. Like, okay, you kind of care. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
not a
So
complete scumbag.
so for me, it was like I didn't know how to think. To be honest with you, just to be honest, I didn't know how to think. I knew that they were trying to get that across, but I don't know if that was what I would have necessarily settled on. I'm a little ambivalent as it relates to that. Like I feel like it was dirty, and I feel like he should have known what the hand was trying to do, and
Mm,
he should have put a stop to it, because clearly he had a problem, being with his cousin, who was however many years old she was at the time. That's really just a few years younger than Allison. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
think
understood
so.
the connection that they had. I understood the connection because they were both grieving. I understood that.
Right. So I don't. I don't know that I would say he kind of should have saw it coming, which I do feel like he does just kind of lean to whatever Otto says. But like you said, the grief. I don't think he was necessarily thinking that clearly. He's literally just on the brink of getting what he wants, his male heir. The baby actually makes it out alive and dies. You choose to put your wife in this situation and you lose both. So right
Mhm,
now it's just like we're in a time slot, of like an hour of the show. But when you just really get into that character, just imagine the kind of grief he must have been feeling, and to have someone just come in and actually just listen,
mhm.
or outside
Speak
of
to
you
his
being
grief.
right. I think he was distracted and wasn't thinking clearly. He couldn't. I don't think he could have. I don't think he was in a place to be able to discern what the true intent was or how calculated it was because of his overwhelming grief. And on top of that, he's suffering this illness, and all of these things are going on. His brother is going ape shit, doing whatever he wants to do. So there's like a billion things going on. So heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? So he has all this going on. This beautiful young maiden is coming in, and she's actually just sitting with me. She's not asking me for anything. I don't need to be, the king in front of her. I can just kind of be Viserys.
Mhm, mhm.
So I think he really was just distracted. And that was a great power play by Otto. It
Oh,
was.
magnificent. Magnificent. It was almost as if he like as soon as the queen died, it was like he knew what he was gonna do.
Yeah, and
Had
and
to have.
just think about it as the hand. I'm there. I know your breathing patterns. I know when you need the chamber pot. I know everything about you, right? So literally a power play. He didn't see it coming.
All right. So later, Rhaenyra opens up that she doesn't want her father to see her as a little girl, and Allison then encourages her to keep trying, um, trying to connect with her father. And then in the next scene, Lord Carlos advises the king that Westeros appears weak because of the elevation of Rhaenyra. By this point, Rhaenyra had been named the heir to Viserys. Carlos advises a union between his family and the king's family, which would unite the Targaryen line. Thoughts?
So I'm still on that age thing. I really feel like it's more than a number in these cases. So them trying to set up this child that's not even 14 yet to marry the king, and just, I'm understanding the political reason for it. Um and Politically, I feel like that would have been a good move, but I'm just still like really turned off. Like, come on, man. Like, she's not even 14. Like, she's telling the king, like, telling them, like, oh, my mom said I wouldn't have to bed him until I'm 14. And I'm like, so you're not even 14? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm terrified for her. And they look absolutely ridiculous walking together. You know, dragging fingers falling off and stuff. And, she's there, beautiful gray hair. And, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
so I understood why they wanted to do it, but I still was just not a big fan of that. Yeah, just wasn't a big fan of that play. Like,
Well, in the next scene, Rhaenyra and Rhaenyra, they spar over what's actually happening, and Rhaenyra is basically like, I don't even know if you really truly comprehend what's happening or what you think is going to really happen. She basically cautions Rhaenyra. She says, "You're never going to be queen. Don't you understand this? You're never going to be queen, and at some point, your dad is going to have to marry someone." It has nothing to do with his heir. He just has to marry someone. And so it's like it was quick. Like they were going back and forth until, of course, Rhaenyra walked off. Um, but it kind of set some things in motion, because at this particular point in time, episode 2, I was like, okay, so she's gonna be queen. What's gonna happen to her? You know what I'm saying? It didn't dawn on me that there would be obstacles in her way. I'm still, this is
right.
2022, so I'm thinking,
You named the queen,
what
so
of it?
fuck it. You the queen. Bow down, bitches.
We just buried the queen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's no big deal.
I do.
But your
I do
thoughts?
like the fact that she spoke to her cousin, like,
Hmm.
"Hey, I know what you think this is about to be, little girl, but you kind of confused. Like, you cannot believe that our realm is gonna allow you to ascend the throne without pushback. It's not gonna go how you think it's gonna go. Dragons are not, girl. Listen, it's not
Hmm.
gonna go that way." So I did appreciate the verbal sparring with them, because Rhaenyra is really strong, but it was good to see. And I don't want to call her an elder, but I'm gonna just use that word. An elder tried to kind of caution her, warn her,
Hmm.
like, "Hey, you may want to think about what is exactly is about to transpire here." I've been in the position to where I had an opportunity, and they wouldn't let it go down.
my
So
my father wouldn't let it happen, and not only did my father not let it happen, when he invited all the lords of the land to come and vote and decide, they decided they didn't want it to happen, even though I have a direct link to the king. The king is my father. They
yes,
wouldn't let that happen. So you mean to tell me in a decade's time their minds have changed? Oh no. Oh no, that's basically what she's telling her in that moment.
like
So
you
a
have
little dose of
your
reality.
you have your own uncle that wants this throne. So what do you think is going to happen? You're just gonna peacefully just, okay, we're gonna see. But I tried to tell you. So I did appreciate the little tidbits of wisdom from her
Hmm.
cousin trying to put her on game.
Hmm. And speaking of her uncle Damon, the king learns that Damon stole one of the eggs from wherever they're being kept. And not only did he steal an egg, he stole the egg that his dead son was to have. And that more than anything sent the king, like, okay, Damon stole an egg. That was
So,
that was his reaction.
so,
Like everyone else was upset.
so,
Damon stole an
so can
egg. Okay, so what?
so can you explain the significance for those that may not know of why this is such a big deal that Damon took this egg, not just because of the deceased son, that he thought it was going to be their heir, like with the Targaryens. Like, what is the deal with the egg?
So when someone in their bloodline is born, the 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 wife to be or the mother to be sleeps with the egg, and what I'm assuming happens is that the egg and the baby form a bond, and then at that point, the well, not the egg, but the dragon inside the egg form a bond, and that baby that grows up to be an adult is then able to not control the dragon, but be the one to kind of use the dragon, if you will. And so not everybody can have access to it. In fact, only people of the Targaryen line are able to have access to it. But not all Targaryens have access to these eggs.
Yeah, so Damien snatches an egg and hops on a dragon with someone that is not his wife.
Hmm. And who is not
I'm like,
pregnant.
right?
And is a
I was
whore.
like, by trade.
Yes, by trade. Not.
By trade. So it's just like, Damon, you your treason knows no bounds. Like, you just do whatever. It's like, your brother's heart. You know him so well that you felt like it was okay for you to do this, and you did it. You
He
did it.
did.
And
He
then
did.
didn't even tell, I don't want to call her the whore, but didn't tell her about your plan. You
Hmm.
know, you just did it. And God
Hmm.
knows where your wife was, but because they told you, hey, get out. You're not welcome here. Take your wife. You gotta go. And you like,
You
bet.
know, you know what I thought was so funny. Every episode, they're talking about his wife, your wife, your wife. Go to your wife. Go to your wife. Go to your wife.
And he has the most unkind things to say about her. I mean, at one point,
Hilarious.
how he gets at Otto, and like, hey, the sheep are more appealing, basically, but he doesn't say it that nice. I'm saying it the nice way,
And was
like,
willing to share his wife. He was willing to share his wife. Your wife just died. You need a wife? I got one. You could take her.
that's exactly what he said. Like, well, loosely paraphrased, but yeah. And I'm just like, oh my God. So yeah, he's flies off with the egg and the whore. Um, so the king's hand, Sir Otto is like, okay,
Hmm.
we're gonna have to do something about this. The king is suiting up, he getting ready. He like, I'm about to roll up on Damon. I don't know what the fuck Viserys thought he was about to do to Damon. I don't know, but he was getting ready to go out there, and Otto's like, hold on,
Yeah, yeah.
I got you. We'll take care of it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they go out there, they roll up on Damon. Forgive me because I forget the name of the place that Damon is now housed.
Oh, and
Um,
I didn't catch it either. I didn't catch it either. I didn't think it was important. It's the
so
place that the heir to the throne. It's their castle.
yeah, so he's there with the egg, the whore, and he's just like, yeah. So at that point,
So
Otto and
what?
some men show up.
So what I thought was significant was like everyone knew that Otto was gonna die. Everyone knew that Otto was gonna die. Like that was absolutely, even if in my mind, if the king showed up, the king would have died. In my mind. But something else happened. Rhaenyra shows up on a dragon,
On a dragon.
and stops Damon and Otto from getting into what they were about to get into. The presence of the dragon kind of made everyone say, "Whoa, let's pull up," because these dragons they kill anybody. They don't care.
Right. You just in a way. So,
Uh-huh.
and it's not a whole lot of room, where we standing.
So she gets off the dragon. She comes to Damon, and they start talking in High Valerian, and basically she's like, "Look, I'm standing in your way. If I'm in your way, just kill me. Just do what you need to do. Do it now." In other words, she was using the relationship that she had with him to make him rethink his actions, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what he did.
And I love because you have Damon, this absolute textbook definition of a brute
Hmm.
that's being given reason by his niece, this young girl that stands to reason with him. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. And she's just absolutely brazen in the way she does it. Like you said, she
Hmm.
comes on dragon back. She didn't come by
Hmm.
horse.
Did you say
She didn't
drag it
come
back?
dragon back, dragon back. She didn't come with a horse. She didn't pull up on one of them steeds. No, she didn't come with a group. She
Hmm.
came just her and
By
the dragon.
herself.
Was like, and I really like that. That just to me is like at this point I'm just in love with Rhaenyra and just her asserting herself, but at the same time, you know, just zooming in on their relationship with her and her uncle. Like, okay, look,
Hmm.
so you want to do this? Go ahead, take me out. I'm right here.
Hmm. Hmm.
And just to kind
Hmm.
of see him fall back was like, wow, Damon,
Hmm. Hmm.
the one that
Hmm.
is wild, uncheckable.
But that was to be, like, for me that was almost like a given. Like, I knew that that's how he would respond. I knew that he would take a step back because of her, because the relationship that the two of them have had since episode 1, you could tell that he had some level of affection for her.
Yeah,
Not incestuous, but some level of affection. Kindred spirits, if you will.
yeah, yeah. Because
Mhm.
when he first appears in episode 1 and he's sitting on the throne and I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna kill you, like what are you doing? And she's like, I got this. And like you say, they start speaking in High Valyrian. He gives her this ancestral piece of jewelry, and so in that moment I'm seeing like, oh, okay, like they really are close.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
But yeah.
So next scene, Lord Lionel was summoned by Viserys. Viserys wants to know whether he should marry Lord Carlos's daughter. Um, he reminds him that Carlos would not take it well. Lord Carlos wouldn't take it well if he withheld his daughter's hand. Also, it would strengthen things within his family. Meaning, Lord Lionel was suggesting that the King Viserys did indeed marry Lord Carlos's daughter. Um, because the strength of the realm is much more important. In other words, Lionel was looking at the situation from a rational perspective.
Right.
Now, you said earlier that you weren't with it, but hearing his perspective, like I'm certain that you still feel the same way.
Oh, I absolutely still feel the same way, but I understand. But at the
Hmm.
same time, we have this dilemma of okay, I there is this strong match that I need that will be great for the realm, but then I'm smitten with this other young lady. You know, I've just lost my wife, and this young lady, I feel like really gets me. So, what do I do?
Hmm. So in the next scene, Rhaenyra returns from retrieving the egg. Um, she tells her father that she retrieved the egg from Damon. She stopped a war. She stopped deaths from occurring, and basically let him know I am the only person that could have done that. So she has
No.
value. She has value, and of course, he was relieved by that. Like, at first, he was highly upset that she left without his knowledge, but learning what she did, he was pleased. They also bond over the death of the queen. which came at a good moment because that was what she was needing all throughout this particular episode, and a little towards the end of episode one.
And I think a lot of that came from Allison getting in both of their ears. Of
Hmm.
course, the events are unfolding, but just the willingness to even address anything at all is because she's in both of their ears. So, you know, I feel like that played a part in them
Agreed.
actually opening up.
Hmm. Hmm. So then he pivots and he basically says to her, without really saying it, but he basically says, "Hey, look, I have to marry again." Um, and he also reminds her that he has no plans on replacing her as his heir. Um, your thoughts about that? So far he's remaining committed to the idea of his daughter being his heir. Your thoughts?
Um, I think in this moment I was thinking like, okay, Viserys is a really good father, you know, but at the same time I'm like, okay, you're saying you're gonna remarry. You have named her the heir. Are you not thinking that you're gonna have other children? Like, how far are you thinking into this? By making this promise to Rhaenyra, or are you going to keep it? Is what I'm thinking. Um, in that moment, that they have that conversation about marriage and about her still being the heir.
Well, I think him saying, look, well, number one, he's saying I have to get married, and then marrying that comment, no pun intended, with him saying, "Hey, you're still going to be my heir. I have absolutely no intentions of changing that." I think that was said to reassure her. And remember, like he is talking to basically a teenager. Why would she think that the king would change his mind? Or that other political factors would get in the way. Um, at least that's the way that I would think if I were near.
That's accurate. I could see that.
All right, so Viserys announces to his privy council that he is going to marry Allison, and of course, Lord Carlos is part of the small council. For some reason, I like to say privy council because that's what I've known, but it's a small council. So of course, this doesn't please Lord Carlos at all. So he storms out yet again out of out of that room. He storms in, he storms out. You better you
with
better hear
with
his roar.
with the hair like Storm from X-Men. Okay, there's a lot of storming going on there. Um, because at this point, okay, now I feel like you're being offensive. So who
Mhm.
is, no offense, who is Allison? What can she offer you other than a little dragon she mended? Like, she don't got no pure Valyrian blood in her. Like, what is she gonna do for you? She don't have no
Yeah.
ships.
Doesn't help him politically, other than the fact that she is the daughter of the hand. The hand has nothing. The hand, you know what I'm saying? All he has is the fact that he is the hand. That's it.
He got experience.
Yes. So, at the end of the episode, Lord Carlos is seen commiserating with Damon over being overlooked. That is the bond that the two of them have in common. At least that's how he's pitching it to him. Carlos then tells Damon about the crab feeder's actions. If the Driftwood fleet is crippled, meaning Lord Carlos's fleet, if it's crippled, it would also hurt the Targaryens. Damon then pledges his assistance.
So Damon is one of those characters that you love to hate. Like he's just so unpredictable. Like you think Damon is gonna go left and then he goes right, So um it's like he feels slighted because he just feels like the throne belongs to him. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is still my family. This is still my family. So
So this is the thing. Um, yes, that is his brother, right? and I don't really think that he really wants to harm his brother. I don't really think that. Anyway, well, I was about to jump into I was about to jump
You're
into
right.
another episode. I don't think he really wants to harm his brother. I do think though that he believes he would have made a better king. I think all secondborns feel that they would be a better king, and I feel honestly, I feel that firstborns are by design more diplomatic, because what their role is to keep the family together by any and all means, right? Keep the family together. It is your duty to take care of your younger brothers and sisters, and that allows your younger brothers and sisters to be the opposite of you. And if you think about it, the second born is nothing like the firstborn.
They're wild.
Nothing. Exactly.
They're typically pretty wild. Most
and
second
be
boards I know.
And because the firstborns have to learn to be diplomatic, that is who they are by nature. And so often it seems like um, being diplomatic is weak, but you're also a strategist. You're also
Hmm.
thinking 10 steps ahead. What's going to happen if I do this? What's if that happens? Then you know what I'm saying? The secondborn, as you said, is wild. They're not thinking; they're just reacting, right? Um, I do think though that Damon is a strategist. I do think Damon is a strategist.
Yeah, I do too. Like he's definitely wild, but it's like he surprises me, and I like that. I enjoy watching him maneuver through these episodes. So with that being said, do you feel like Damon would make a good king?
Absolutely not. First of all, he's impotent. Can we talk about that?
Wait a minute. He's impotent.
I mean, and on top of that, no, like for real, I think that he would have led them down so many different wars. It would have been hard for them to keep up. And whenever you're overextended, that means that someone somewhere is going to take advantage,
Mhm.
and that's not a good situation to be in either.
I just I just want Viserys to have a little bit of Damon in him, but too much of Damon is definitely chaotic. Um, I don't know that he would make a great king, but I feel like Damon gets shit done. I feel like you need a Damon, right? Not
and i
necessarily
think
on the throne, but
and I think that's what Damon was saying. I think Damon was saying, I should have been your hand. If I had been your hand, I would have been able, because I am a strategic. I am about strategy. I could have helped you with the strategy part, but behind your back, I would have been tearing up. You know what I'm saying? To protect you. And I think that would have worked. I think that would have worked well. And I think his brother, Viserys, would have respected him a whole lot more. I think he saw him only as his younger brother,
hmm I
the
think
person that I have to protect.
so. I'm with that. I didn't even consider like okay how that would have worked to Viserys's advantage had Damon been his hand, as opposed to sending him out and he up there basically slaughtering people and just
Hmm.
doing too much wild stuff. But I do. I think that would have been a good move. But well, so no to Damon as king. No.
No, that's
Oh,
just how I feel. That's just how I feel. I'm not saying that it's gospel. I'm just saying
hey, no,
that.
it's gospel in this realm. It's gospel. Cause you're right. Cause I think it's that whole bad boy thing to where I'm absolutely aroused by Damon and him
Hmm.
doing just crazy stuff to where I get a little
Hmm.
distracted, like, oh yeah, you
Hmm.
should be king. And it's like that's a terrible
Hmm.
idea. He should not be king.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
should be king of nothing.
Hmm. Because I will say this: Viserys is god awful. He is god awful. Like, like you can't like I can't even articulate without cursing because I want to curse so bad. But it's like really, you can't do this, you can't do that. Come on, dude. Come on. Every single, if you think about it, he makes absolutely no decisions without someone telling him what to do. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like if you're the king, every now and then you gotta just be rash and just be like, F this. I'm doing this. What you gonna do about it? Nothing? Okay, I didn't think so. And just dare people. You know what I'm saying? Like just dare them. No, 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 you're not gonna do nothing.
Which brings me back to my original statement. I just really don't think he wanted the throne at all. Like, you knew you were not the best fit for the job. You basically kind of lucked up upon it because your other, um, your opponent was the only thing that was worse than you, which was a woman. You know, so
Hmm. I wonder who he voted for.
his cousin, he
I
voted for the
think
woman.
so.
Like,
I
I
think
don't
so.
want to do this.
I think so
He
too.
looked surprised, like, oh wait, me? Oh,
I think so
okay.
too.
Y'all show? Hmm.
Hmm. I want to understand these family lines. I really want to understand these family lines. I, where did dark skin come from? Break that down for me. I need to.
Look,
I need to understand this.
look, you are the historian. You know, you're gonna dig deeper.
Not in the land of make believe and fantasy. You know this game.
Look, I'm thoroughly enjoying it though. Like, I can't wait until Sunday. And sadly, it's not that the first thought was like, oh great, church Sunday. It's like Sunday, House of Dragon. Like,
Yeah,
what is
yeah.
about to happen? Because now, ooh,
Well, look. Are you watching Ring of Power? Rings of Power?
I'm not.
Have you
I need
watched
to watch it.
Have you watched Lord of the Rings?
Oh God, eons ago.
The movies, right?
Eons ago. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
now a television show on Amazon called Rings of Power. They have about the same number of episodes.
Okay.
And like both are like major TV shows right now.
Okay. Well, I have more homework to do. I can always rely on you to pitch me something good to pass time and have an excuse not to do what I'm supposed to be doing. Like,
I will say though that with Rings of Power, um, maybe okay. So the first episode was really slow. It was, but you know, first episodes almost always are because they're trying to set the scene, trying to let you know who these characters are, a little bit about their personality, all the other good stuff. Um, to me, it didn't start to liven up until episode three, maybe I think it was. Um, but then after that, it's been amazing, amazing. Yeah.
okay, I'll have to check it out. Dragons and rings, all the things. Let's go. We,
Dragons and rings, all the things. I love it.
oh,
Well, I think that's about it for us on this particular episode. Thank you for joining us. Make certain to subscribe, like, comment, and share with everyone you know. Thanks again, L. Yeah.
thank you for having me.